by the age of 15, seen the worst that I need to see.
Tell me the worst.
Well, I tried ending my life. That was pretty bad in itself.
Okay, so walk me to how it was as a kid and what it is right now.
I suddenly, from grade 3 to grade 4, I went from start of the class to the back of the class. Suddenly at PTA meetings, it was Benaisha needs more help. Benaisha is slow. So it was all about Benaisha's just lazy. That language, the way it was said to me, was just so condescending. That feeling just lingers on.
For parenting tips, celebrity interviews, recipes, conversations with experts, DIYs, and lots more. Subscribe to Kids Talk Press now. Benaisha Kharas' journey goes back to when she was 10 years old in grade 4 and was diagnosed with dyslexia. There was a little awareness of dyslexia back in the 90s that it was a learning difficulty. She was labeled as lazy and stubborn, and all that criticism really knocked her confidence. But eventually, she didn't let that stop her. And that's what makes her really special, and that's what makes her come by on the Kids Talk Press episode to share with each one of us listening to this that nothing can actually inhibit the journey, the life, and the growth that you're going to experience or your children are going to experience, and nothing can really, really hold you back. Benaisha is now an image consultant, soft skills trainer, and a personal counselor. She's India's first young image master consultant and a 4-time winner of the Global Excellence Leadership Award and a winner of the Business Excellence Leadership Award in 2022 by Image Management Professionals Association. Welcome, Benaisha.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you, and I am just so happy to have someone who's been so honest about her journey.
Thank you.
What made you talk about it?
Honestly, it happened very organically, Mansi. You know, I wasn't really planning on making it like a conversation, but I think it really became such a big conversation to have when people started having an aha moment with it. For me, it was a very natural phenomenon. I was just doing my own bit. But the need, as you ask, it became a need to kind of explain because the image that I had while growing up was very stark to what I currently do have.
Okay, so walk me to how it was as a kid and what it is right now.
So as a kid, I definitely wouldn't be here. I would be like squirmishly sitting somewhere. Confidence was at an all-time low. And nervousness, sweaty palms was a natural phenomenon of everyday lifestyle.
And was that because of your learning disability, or was that just who you are as a person?
No, while growing up, I mean, when I look at my childhood pictures, not that I have any memories when I was 2 and 3 and 4, but I remember, seeing those pictures and my parents telling me stories about how confident I was. And even in like KG and first grade and second grade, I was a pretty confident kid, for whatever that age group has. Faintly remembering it, but I think the shift that really occurred for me was, as you mentioned, in grade 4, was I suddenly, from grade 3 to grade 4, I went from start of the class to the back of the class. So from Benaisha, the really enthusiastic, smart, participating child, suddenly at PTA meetings, it was Benaisha needs more help. Benaisha is slow. Benaisha is, whatever else that came through. So the connotations just completely changed of who Benaisha was. And because when you're so young, your brain is like a sponge and you literally absorb everything that your mom and your teacher says.
Yeah.
These are the 2 strong women in your life at that given point of time. And I think my teacher at that point was, in the whole honesty space, was just trying to say, this is what it is and this is what you have to do. But my mom, I'm the firstborn to my parents, and she was navigating her way as much as I was, as a parent.
Yeah.
And I think to her and to me was a big take aback that what is dyslexia, what is dyscalculia, what is ADHD.
Yeah.
And honestly, it wasn't even told by my teachers. It was diagnosed in that time, but much later.
Right.
In the coming months. It was all about Benaisha's just lazy. Benaisha just doesn't, like, her spellings are horrible. Like, I can't even understand it. She has neat in writing, but she has bad spellings. And that language, the way it was said to me, was just so condescending that it just broke my heart every time there was a parent teacher meet, which is pretty often at that age.
Yeah.
So I think that is where my confidence was so low, and you can now term it as a trigger point to then have these kind of personality traits that came about with me. Because till that time I thought like I'm doing good, I'm a good kid, I'm doing great.
And tell me, is it so well edged and so deep rooted in you that even today, when somebody says lazy, or somebody says something that your teacher has said, does it put you in a defensive, and is it like a trigger that you just flare off from nowhere?
Absolutely, Mansi. Honestly, I'm much older. I'm hopefully much more matured. I'm much more educated, but that feeling just lingers on. At that when I was younger, my cousins used to joke and call me LD, which is learning disability. It's a department. Okay, it's a department that kids like me went to for extra help. And it's called the LD department, Learning Disability Department. And so, sometimes I used to be like, they used to ask me, so why aren't you coming? Like, where are you going? I said, I have to go for LD classes. So it just became a conversation, like a thing to say, right? And to which they were also as smart as I was. And they started saying, oh, LD, 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 LD. And, honestly, first it sounded funny, but over a period of time, I couldn't laugh anymore about it. Like, I was like, haha, okay, yeah, funny. But, after a point, I was actually hurt. I felt bad because I knew it wasn't a good thing. I knew it was a different thing, but that different thing wasn't explained to me then like that. It was made to make me feel different and not in a good way. So even till today, and these are my older cousins, so some of them still joke, and I that's it. That's the end of our conversation. I'm like, I'm sorry. Now I know what boundaries are, right?
Yeah.
so I now set a lot of boundaries, and I'm sorry, but that's not a conversation I'm willing to have further. There are lots of triggers in that sensibility. Like even sometimes today when my husband says something and it's out of pure fun, I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is not something that really. I don't know how to combat it. I've really tried for several years. It's over 15 years now.
And tell me, when you decided to share your story, were you scared that, okay, now, first there were a bunch of people who were going to talk about LD, and now I'm opening it to the world to talk about it?
Mansi, there's a point in your life where you just don't give a damn. I reached that very quickly at 15. I just didn't care because I had by the age of 15 seen the worst that I need to see.
Tell me the worst.
Well, I tried ending my life. That was pretty bad in itself. I had several counselors because one couldn't last the other, and I had a lot of anxiety, stress. I mean, and at that age, like, people look at you and say, what stress do you have?
Yeah.
I used to shiver when my marks used to come and I had to tell them to my parents. Like, I was so bad that I used to literally wet my pants, going to my dad and mom saying, I failed again. That is like high level stress for like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, it was a lot, and at that point of time, the intensity, every week, every assignment, every day, there was nothing new. From grade 4 to grade 10, there was nothing new for me. Like holidays or not holidays, because I needed extra classes. So I never got to really travel and go out, and my parents couldn't really like send me on these, you know, family holiday destinations because I needed to get through life. My parents were thinking, and I didn't come from a business family. My parents both work even till today. So they came from, I came from an educationist family actually. So my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, they all were in the teaching and education space. My parents, of course, came from a different accounts and finance space, but we all were professionals. So for them, it was like she's got to learn how to deal with it, or she's got to learn how to figure it out, or education was a very very important factor.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I wasn't doing well.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that, and my marks were defining who I was because there was nothing else that I was allowed to do. I'm good at art. I was good at sports. I was good at acting.
But none of that mattered.
But none of that really mattered because there were no grades for it. No? And none of it, and because there were no grades for it, no teacher promoted it. And my teacher, I remember when I used to participate on sports day, and obviously you need to take out time to go and practice, right? They used to be like, well, what will you do with it? Is that going to get you grades? Like those were the conversations I heard. Is that going to get you grades? You're going to miss you're going to miss a class, you're going to waste your time, and you're going to fail anyway. And then to me, I was like, oh my God, so I'm back there. So I had zero desire or choice to actually deal with any of that, any of the extracurricular activities. There were a few moments where I actually did have a breakthrough and I participated in some of them to really know that I was good at it. But those were those very rare jewel moments of my life.
Right. But tell me, your parents knew about it. Did it mean learning in a different way altogether, or did it mean learning the same way but just more practice?
Truth be told, my parents, firstly, I don't think understood what learning disabilities was. And frankly speaking, there was no one to explain it. Like literally no one. So 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade was a blur for them, wherein they were like,
why can't she get it?
No, it wasn't more about why can't she get it. Like, to a point, sometimes they were like, really, that's our kid, but like, we didn't have this.
Yeah, we didn't want this.
I don't think they reached that point. They were slightly more on the empathetic bit of things, but they were embarrassed. Today, even when I say this, they're like, no, that's not true. I know it. They were really embarrassed. They were really embarrassed for any parent-teacher meeting. My dad couldn't just wrap his head around, like, what just happened here? Like, why is she the way she is? Like, what just snapped overnight? Because we suddenly went from Benaisha, the smart kid and enthusiastic, to Benaisha, the lazy one there.
Yeah.
So I think for them it was a lot of acceptance. And to see my parents not accept me.
Was that hard?
Very hard. I think, and that's where it came that what is the point of me being here? Why do I need to live in a space wherein I'm not just accepted for how defected I am?
Yeah.
And I don't blame them, but today I understand it better. But at that point of time, I had a lot of resentment towards them. I had a lot of like, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to be with you, I don't want to hang out with you, I don't want to listen to you. Because all you were doing was just comparing me. And that's how they were brought up.
Yeah.
They didn't know any better.
Yeah.
They had, they come from families of like when they had like 2 siblings and 3 siblings each, So they knew, and they were the youngest of their siblings. So they were always compared to say that, okay, look at your elder sister, look at your this. So I was also compared to like cousins of the similar age group of mine, or even my younger sister by then who had come, who's been a bright student, bright. So, it was just very challenging. Like every day coming back home from school was the nightmare. Like school was a nightmare, but in school there are so many kids that you can just blow yourself out. Like there was so many times I used to just hang out in the bathrooms because I just didn't want to go to class.
You're breaking my heart. Like I'm feeling like I just cannot. I cannot fathom your pain.
Yeah, it was just one of those moments wherein, like, till today, like I said, I'm much older, but when I still dream, those bathrooms are very vivid in my mind. And fun fact, I don't know how Aamir Khan did this, but he got Taare Zameen for bang on. Like, bang on.
Yeah.
I think the time when this vocabulary of learning disabilities, dyslexia, dyscalculia, ADHD, all of it, he kind of got it spot on. That kid in that movie
Was you?
was me, and was 100 of us there. And I'm not even joking. Like today, when I speak to so many people, like which we found much later, right? It was exactly just that. Just that I didn't go to boarding school, but I pitched it to my parents. I said I need to go to boarding school because I was so frustrated. I just thought like I'll go to a new place and I'll
then
wipe
solve the
this.
problem.
I'll wipe the slate clean, and I'll be somebody totally new. I'll be that person, and they'll give me a chance because they don't know me.
Yeah.
Here, I wasn't even allowed to try to be new.
Yeah.
Because anytime I went to the teacher and I said, I got this, I know this, keep quiet. You really don't know it. Like, it made fun. Like, when your teacher makes fun of you, you know that there's nothing left for you in school.
Yeah.
And that was a bit, that was just a lot of stress. And then life happened. I moved schools.
Right.
I don't know what happened to that, but my parents decided to. So I lived in South Bombay, and I went to a school in South Bombay from kindergarten to grade 8. And then my parents decided that they wanted to move, midtown somewhere near like Parel Dadar. And so we moved to Dadar, but that was still much later. So in the first part, they said, let's move your school MC because that'll help you because you're in grade 8. That comes a time when I repeat grade 8. And for me, it was like, oh my god, such a bad thing because that means I failed in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Earlier it was my teacher, my parents, and me who knew my report card, right?
Yeah.
Now everyone knows because I repeated a whole year, which means I lost some of my friends. Honestly, at that point of time in that school, I had a few friends, but I got bullied for being that kid who'll just do all the cool girls' work, and I went to an all girls school, so it's a bit difficult there when you had an all girls school, I feel. Anyhow, so when I moved schools, I went to a lovely school. I'll say the school's name and not the other. So I went to Beacon High, and which is an ICSE school in Bandra, and we had a separate remedial center, which was missing in my first school. And while my first school is very popular,
I already know the name of the school.
it just didn't have the facility for
Yeah.
me at that time. Now I believe that they do, but I don't know how it operates. So Beacon High, provided me with empathetic teachers, a wonderful counselor who I till today keep in touch with, teachers who I till today keep in touch with, a lovely principal who's still there. And they really understood my pain point. So when I spoke to them, it wasn't gibberish. When I told them that my head is blurring out and I can't think beyond 15 minutes, I wasn't classified as a lazy kid. Or when I said, okay, I'm writing and now I forgot what I have to write, can I just say it instead of writing the exam? They didn't judge me on it.
Yeah.
So they understood the craziness with all of that. And that for me kind of made it slightly better, I'd say. But yeah.
Wow. And then you mentioned that you almost were on the verge of taking your life.
Yeah.
What was that like, and how did the parents deal with it?
Honestly, I think my parents kind of.
What was the tipping point that led you to say, this is it, I'm not worth it?
So, while growing up with all of this, I did not really form any sort of good, strong relationships within my family because, I had my cousins and my parents were there, but my dad actually had a slight different expectation from me. And today I think very differently, and him and I have a very different bond, a much greater and better bond. But while growing up, I feel like he was going through a lot in his life as well. And he was a young parent. My parents had me when they were 24, so there's a very young age gap between it. And while growing up, I don't think he understood the methodology of patience. And that's pretty much because I think he wasn't shown that in his child. Now that I'm diagnosing it, and that led me to a lot of resentment towards him because he just didn't get it like my mom did. And I was like, why? Both are your parents. And I used to not have a great time. His expectations were very different, mine were different. That led to a lot of arguments, a lot of ugliness around. And I didn't want to be there. Like I feared my father a lot, a lot. And that fear really swallowed me. And I couldn't take another open day. I just couldn't take another open day because that was the end of it. Like I even now while I'm talking to you, just going back to that very singular moment where I decided, I felt a great, great sense of pain and dizzy in my head to just, I couldn't just process it. Like I just did not want to go through another parent teacher meeting wherein I was scolded, shouted, and even at one point like whacked on it by a teacher. So I did not want that anymore. And I just thought like I had nothing going right for me in life.
And you thought ending it would be easy.
Just easier. It would just be cool. I tried like disappearing also. I just thought I'll take my cycle away and always off from Marine Drive and just go somewhere. But it takes a lot of courage. And I did have a lot of desire to live because I knew I was special in some format. So, that conflict of.
So tell me, in this 15, when did you try to do it? 15?
No,
14?
I was 13, 12, 13.
When you're 12 and 13, there is a part of you that wants to disappear, end everything.
Yeah.
What was the other part of you that said, Benaisha, you're special, hold on?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that for all the kids who are trying or who are battling this, Benaisha, your story is going to make them say that there is a world after that moment, and how do you let that moment pass and not get carried away.
Right. So, when today when I deal with a similar situation as a therapist or a consultant here to parents and children, I think the intensity is what we need to understand of the child. Like, what is it that's so bad for you? And see, when you're 12, everything is too much or nothing. Like, all or nothing, right? And that's what it was for me. But there is always a voice within you that doesn't want it, but wants people. So I'll be very truthful with you. I wanted someone to be on my side and be in my corner. I wanted someone to feel bad for me. I wanted someone to notice the fact that I'm really going through hell. And if it meant taking myself away from this planet, I think then that would be great. Like I used to have these thoughts like, oh my God, at least then people will understand my pain.
You wanted to be seen.
I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be cared for. In the way I understood. I'm not saying my parents didn't care for me. They really did. They tried their best. But they were too rational to understand what I was going through.
True.
They were trying to do the right thing, and I just wanted to just be. And I think most parents today, in the power of perfection, they lose the vision of just being. Like sometimes you just gotta sit with your kid and stare into space and just do nothing and not ask about how's your day at school.
Yeah, because that's the last thing. That's the one part that you want to get over with.
Yeah, nothing happened at school. I don't want to share anything that happened at school. No, but there must be something. No, there was nothing that happened at school. No, come on, think about it. One good thing. Nothing was good at school, Mom. Nothing. Oh, you're being very pessimistic, Benaisha. I'm not. There's nothing good at school. Fine. You're just being stubborn now. You don't want to talk? Fine. Let me know when you're ready. I'm not going to be ready. I don't want to talk about this. These are conversations that are very typical in households even today.
Yeah.
And it's not the parents' fault, right? It's they know what they know. But today, of course, if my mom had your podcast to hear it out, they would be great because she would get some kind of tools to work around, some stories to share. But back in the day, in the 19s and the early 2000s, there was nothing. There was literally nothing. You couldn't even pick up an encyclopedia and get any information on it. The word dyslexia did not exist in that, except the dictionary. So I think that was the only definition that they got. So anyhow, but I feel like today when somebody is listening and any kid is listening to this or parent is listening, I would say that let's put a break on what will happen of her or him. Whatever will happen, right? But be in the here and now. Just hold your kid's hand, look them in the eye, and say a simple thing. I am here for you, however you need me, whenever you need me, and for whatever you need me. And actually fulfill it. Because those 3 sentences are extremely powerful for a child to hear from the parent. There is no way a kid will go to anybody else if you are available. When you are not available, your child will think of anybody else, the first, next criminal also, as their best friend if you don't show up. Because inherently the child has always understood that these are my 2 co-people. But when the 2 co-people go, then it can be replaced by anybody else. And then you can't say we are in bad company. I'm in the company I best got. Right? So today in this space of my kid needs to be, very articulate, very enthusiastic, very bright. Why can't your kid be that person who doesn't wish to talk? Your husband can be. Oh, he's introverted. Why? Because he's like 30, 40 years old and you've understood his personality. So he's introverted. Or I'm extroverted. Or I'm like this. My kids should be, because today's times kids need to be. Why kids didn't need to be there 30 years ago? Everybody wants a bright kid out there. But brightness can reflect differently. The sun still shines during an eclipse. Right? So I think the acceptance from parents today is of prime importance than of just children understanding of their expectations. And I think that is something that I have taken from my childhood. And when my mom was mothering my younger one, pretty much I did. So she's been a working mom, so she understands things with a lot of math and measure, but you sometimes need to just work with the heart. And she got that along. And my mom said to me a very interesting thing when she found out that I actually wanted to, do what I wanted to do and just run away and all of that. She said, you know what, Benaisha, it's really sad to know that you are only looking at everybody else who is, who's telling you things, but you're not looking at the only one person who's in your corner, which is me. And I actually had blurred her out because I'm like, moms do it, yeah. They're always there for you, big deep. But dad's not there. This one's not there. That one's not there. So I wasn't really appreciating who was there. And that is something that I learned in that moment, that focus on what you do have. And that's what changed.
I didn't know what to say. I was out of words. It was so beautiful.
Thank you. It was all like just there.
You've gone through a lot.
But then see that because of this conditioning, I'm like, this is it. People go through a lot. And because of the work that I do with the underprivileged or work with, I've worked with women from the slum, or I've worked with rescued women who were raped, sexual abused, or anything. I'm like, I am golden, girl. Like, I'm blessed. These are matters that, yes, are of importance and have, made me fall. But they have also made me rise, Today I'm here because I have a story to tell.
Yeah.
I have some small victory or the other. There's so many kids like that who just go through the struggle every day. There's so many other friends or other association members that I have when they know about this through podcasts like yours. And they reach out, they're like, and when I talk to them about this is how your kid is feeling, they're so like, oh my God, I never really thought about it. I never really thought that my kid is going through this. I'm like, yes, because it only takes pain from one person to understand pain from the other.
Yeah.
So,
And tell me, after you changed schools, after you were in the remedial center, after your school understood you, how did Benaisha pivot from there and landed to where she is today?
So, I actually always aspired to be a house captain, at least. Because my elder cousin sister was a head girl, and I was like in awe of that. And I don't know, but by then I had found my hands on the book of Secret, and I've been an avid reader since then. I've read a bunch of these self-help books. I don't read fiction at all. And I literally manifested that position. And that position got me so much to learn and grow, the opportunity to learn and grow because I was in a leadership role. And it just opened up a lot of avenues.
What did
for
you
me.
do to get there?
I focused on who I wanted to be rather than who I was. A lot of times we can't get back to our old self. We can't reset and then come back to that place, and where we find us reset has taken us to a completely different space. That's the right thing sometimes, because I didn't want to go back. I didn't want anyone to know who I was. I didn't want anyone to see how I was or anything of that sort. So I was very focused on what Benaisha should be. Think of what she wants to be. Okay, she wants to be a captain. What does she need to do to be a captain? Then I worked on it, right? So of course I needed to fix on a few of my grades, and fortunately, this school didn't fix on only grades. I got the opportunity to practice sports, to do art, to do theatre. So I was seen in a very different positive light. And I put myself in these situations. So a lot of times, kids like us, while growing up, become shy individuals. We are never in public speaking spaces. We never participate for debates. We never want to be on annual day school. And none of that happens to us. But I firmly pushed myself. I made a choice to make the change. So I pushed myself. I said, no, if you want to do this, you can't just sit on a chair and manifest it in your dreams, right? It doesn't work. Who's going to find you? I changed the narrative completely. The conversation in my mind.
All of this you're doing alone.
Yes, because I had only me.
Can I just take a moment to applaud you? I can't even imagine a 16-year-old, 17-year-old
Yeah.
is manifesting, framing her strategy, looking at leadership position, working. She's completely forgotten the LD part of it, that she even has it, to conquering all of that and saying, I'm going to be this girl.
You know why? Because in many of these books that I did read, and it nurtured me so much. I read another book which was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill as well.
Yeah.
At that time. And it has been such an impactful book for me. And in those books, pages of those, there were a few sentences that really, engraved this in my mind, that you are the only person that is there for you. Don't expect anything from anybody, not your mom, not your dad. And it's not a bad thing. If they deliver, that's great. That's a cherry on the cake. But if they don't, they're not wrong. They just don't know. And that is something I completely resonated. Because I know my parents weren't bad people. They were there for me. They did whatever they could, how much ever they understood it. And so I let that be. I tried to learn and understand how I could navigate through my parents. I tried to understand what is it that I need from them, and I asked them for it. Earlier I did not ask. I imagined that my parents should know everything because they're my parents. But our parents are only human. They are as good as us. And that we realize later in our 30s, right? They also have fears, they also have inhibitions, they also have anxiety. So I kind of realized that a little before time, and that was also through all this journey made me get to it. I grew up too fast. So I was not that 15, 16-year-old girl who was interested in makeup and hairdos and none of that. Though I admired it, and frankly it came to me fairly naturally than the others. because I always had well-dressed women at home, like my mom and my grandmom and all. So it wasn't like a big deal for me, you know. And so that was not the focus. The focus was enrichment. The focus was being this better human being. The focus was giving back. And I had a good 5-6 years of therapy, wherein in that therapy I always was with a very elderly therapist. And that I just, in a slang way, I just sucked it up and I dealt with it. Because I said, okay, she's doing good for me, but I don't think she understands me to my core. Because there was a big age difference. They weren't even my parents' age. There was much above that. That's during that time is when I said, if I ever get the opportunity to be on that side and to be cool and young and understand the jam of things, I'll do that. Wow. And then I said, why can't I do that? Right. No one's doing it. All my friends around were talking about being in hotel management, architects, and different things. Yeah. No one was talking about this. Psychology was just a subject from our textbooks. But I really wanted to make it into a space which was really the need of the hour. Because everyone was hushed. Like, my parents would literally ask other parents, do you know a therapist? My daughter needs. I didn't. I want people to say, do you have a therapist? I was getting frustrated on that note. So I changed that frustration into aspiration. I changed that negative behavior of mine of I'm so sad and I'm so sorry and I'm such a bichari to I'm just Benaisha. Mm-hmm. I'm not bichari Benaisha. I'm just Benaisha. And the fun fact, Mansi, my name means bold and tolerant. Wow. I wasn't living up to my name. And I said, come on, you got one life, you got one shot. So in the Napoleon Hill book, it says, you've just got one shot and you've just got one chance to be who you are and think who you are. So just be what you want to be. Take that opportunity, and everything is a choice. Even you've said that at various places. I've heard you. Right? Everything is a choice. And it's so true. I had to take the chance to, to make a choice, to see my life change. And that was something that just stuck with me. So I changed my shyness into, I could say, like, I made myself more pushy. I said, no, come on, do this. Participate here, participate there, do in debate. What is the worst? I'd seen the worst, right? Yeah. I failed. Yeah. I failed in everything. So my work, I'd hit rock bottom and slightly bounced up. Now, if I wanted to float up in the air, I needed to do something of it. Right. And frankly, I was very tired of myself. I was really tired. I was like, God, you're so boring, Benaisha. Like, you're sitting in one corner thinking life's not good, your parents don't care. Like, how much? Yeah. That's the time when, a very interesting thing happened I'd like to share is at that moment, again, it was bad open day and, going back. And my school was in Bandra and I was living downtown. And we were passing by the Mahim church. And outside, there was this quote that says, the miracle is within you. That quote did it for me to a whole different validation point. Because I was like, I need a miracle now. I've really tried my way, like, some jugaad I did from 8th grade to 9th grade, figured it out, became captain, all of that. But now this is like a puncture in the position if I don't get to give my board exams, And I was getting all the help of, my dyslexia, dyscalculia, ADHD, extra time, spellings being exempted, all that I had. I was like, okay, Benaisha, now you've gone crazy. You really need to show up for yourself again. You need to get serious about things. This is the final call. And I wanted to go to Xavier's because I am the 4th generation and of my family. I said, come on, I need to do it. And I loved that college. And I didn't want to go abroad because I knew that I didn't have it in me to go abroad and do any of that. I didn't want to do that. So I told my father also, don't waste your money on it anyhow. But I don't know what got into me. I suddenly started automatically just understanding time management techniques, which later on I learned eventually, like the Pomodoro technique or the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique or the procrastination. Like I just automatically started to get that going for myself. That was magic. That was pure magic. And I really, truly in my heart believe that, God really spoke to me. He spoke to me, she spoke to me, whatever gender it is. I was spoken to from a very young age. And whenever I have listened to that voice down there, I have thrived. I've thrived. And I believe in it so firmly that it's like magic even now when I'm telling you, like it's gonna happen. I just know it. And my life has had a pattern, even till date. The minute I have a fall, no, I have a learning that I'm learning. I have fallen for the last 3 years in my life as well, recent 3 years. I've had a great setback in my personal space. And but those 3 years have also taught me what I had forgotten in my childhood that I learned of resilience, patience, understanding, focus. And as children, if we also focus on some of these and we teach our children some of these as well and emulate them as parents, I think it's an easier transition for a child also to kind of get through her way or his way. So those were those
Wow.
those were those moments. I learned a new coping mechanism. I learned something new about myself in 3 years. I unlearn and relearn something that's relevant to 2024 and not 2004.
Yeah.
And so I did relapse to this pleasing and here it was larger than life pleasing society, because now I'm Benaisha, have a social media page, have this going, have clients, have experience, have these awards, got to live up to a few things, right? How can this fall apart for you? Even in your personal life, you should thrive.
Yeah.
And married the guy who I've dated for so long, have a beautiful marriage, touch wood. Everything's going great. My battle's with me. And that's when I realized, stop it. You just stop it. Because if you don't stop now, you're doing two things, Benaisha. One, you're not making your younger self proud, which you want to do. So you're doing a bad job at that. And that person is more important than any person around you. Because that was the only girl that stood with you, no? Not your mom, not your dad, nobody. Maybe they did, but she was there first. So make her proud. And number two, you are not focusing in the now, which you're practicing with people. Self-love, self-care. Where did that go? Down the drain. So that's when I said, stop it.
Tell me about this. You were talking to me about this girl who's going up on stage and how does the imposter syndrome kick in? Especially when you're supposed to be an image consultant and you're supposed to show up perfect. People are watching everything you do, your body language, your hair, your way you dress, the way you're talking, every single thing. And is there like, are you overcompensating on the front where you're like, you know what, you're learning from the Benaisha who's here and now and not the one who had dyslexia, who was full of shit, full of lack of confidence. Do you feel, do you have these two parallel tracks going?
I sometimes do. So, when I was invited to the first TEDx talk of India and I was the first speaker, I literally loved it and was petrified in the same moment. So when I got the email saying that we'd like to have you, we'd like for you to be a speaker, I was like, what just hit me? I was like amazed, loving it. Then, now you need to formulate a speech which is just 12 minutes. And you need to talk about your journey with dyslexia. I said, how can I put in so many years? And that was when I was 20. I said, how can I put in so many years of my current life in 12 minutes and still yet be impactful? Like, that's just crazy. I'd never been like that, But when I went up there, I had like full on, like I was like, what am I going to talk to these 250 people sitting here? And they were like people with me who were like eminent people I knew, people who've been in press and stuff like that. Like, what am I bringing to your table? God knows, but maybe something. Anyway, I get up there, I am sweating everywhere. I'm not a sweaty person, okay, but I don't know what got into me. I was just like sweaty palms, just itchy, all of that, and that was my first I think one year, first year of my image consulting, right? So I put on my jacket, done my hair and makeup, check everything. Oh my gosh, this is not me. Like, I just don't know how to do this. Anyway, I go up and then I just lose my script. Like I just lost it. Because I cannot remember anything.
Yeah.
Right. So I just can't remember anything. So had you if you had sent me some list of I wouldn't write down any answer because that's the challenge of being dyslexic, right? I can't remember. So I'm like, oh God, now I mugged up this script and now I've forgotten it. In that very moment, in that switch of a thought, I don't know if it ever happens to you, but I'm sure it does. It's just in like while I'm speaking to you, there could be another thought rolling. And that thought, I literally said, just let it go. Like worst case, they will not like you. 200 people from the entire population not liking you is not a big deal. I had many people not like me and I went to school with them every day. So I said, let it be. I don't care. I don't have to see you. If you don't like me, don't like me.
Yeah.
And that time, I just let it be. I lost it. I let the script flow 12 minutes. That was it. And honestly, if you go and see that talk today, even when I see it, I'm like, wow.
You're a rock star.
I don't know how I did it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I so believe in God. Because that wasn't me. That was just some divine within me just kicking ass.
Yeah.
But what I did was believe. That strong belief, no?
Secret has played a very, very powerful
It really has.
shaping you.
It really has, though after a while, the way it has been marketed and conceptualized has been a very different journey. But until then, it was a very strong aspect and principle for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so even today, even like here, before coming and speaking, though I know it's just gonna be you and me, and in a quiet, safe space. I'm like, okay, I really hope I don't do anything. I hope I say the right thing. I hope I say enough. I don't hope I talk too much. Maybe I'm talking too much. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I've learned one thing is that there will be people who will attend your workshops, and I've done several in all these years. There are people who will attend your workshops, will love you, like you, okay, or hate you. And you have to be okay with all of this feedback because you're not a cookie jar. And this is what I tell myself and my clients all the time. You're not a cookie, and not everyone likes cookies as well. Right? You're not chocolate. Everyone doesn't like chocolate. Some people like chocolate, some people like pineapple cake. I mean, you can't be everything for everyone.
Yeah.
And that is something I've made my peace with.
Right.
So I try not to get nervy about it, but it's inherent, right? It's natural.
Yeah. I mean, when you're coaching somebody to be picture perfect for Instagram, for LinkedIn, and we're all living so many multifaceted lives, right? Like on LinkedIn, you're possibly talking about being this perfect business person or women in business. Let's claim it as hashtags, right? Or you're talking about a fun Friday night on your personal page. How do you clone out of one and clone into the other?
Mansi, what I really have stuck my ground to from the time I started was authenticity. Because that was one thing that really repulses me of people. Like, you do you know. Be who you are. Everyone is taken quite literally, that quote is there. Because I wasn't allowed to be who I was. So now I fight to be who I am.
Yeah.
In everything. I stop fighting now. I mean, I've come to that peace, of course. But even when a client comes to me and says, I want the perfect outfit. I said, we'll get you the best outfit. I hate using the word perfect. And not because I don't like the word. I just feel it puts so much pressure on the individual, the receiver, and the giver.
Yeah.
And I'll get anxiety to perform towards this client. She'll have high expectations. What is the point?
When I do this, it's so strange that you say this, because when I do parenting workshops, and when people say, how do you, first thing I tell everybody who's attending, all the moms, that there is this cape that you've tied around your neck, which is the super mom cape.
Yeah.
Just untie it, pull it out, and drop it. And then just breathe in and breathe out. Because you realize you've just dropped the pressure. I don't need to be a super mom. I don't need to be showing up perfectly every single day and not airing it all.
True.
Because the minute I take that pressure off me, one, I feel a lot lighter. The second is, my kids told me once when I goofed up, and she said, Mom, you're only human.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten that about me. I had forgotten that I can make mistakes
Mm-hmm.
because I just thought every mistake in the world or every wrong that's happening in my child's life is because of me.
True.
And the minute I dropped that cape, it just, that's like you said, the word perfect. It just
Yeah.
I like WIP all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been absolutely incredible. And there's, I think, one thing I'd want to conclude with is, and which we spoke of before. You're coming from a place where you knew yourself. You didn't know who you were. You found yourself, and now you draw back a lot of who you are today from your mistakes back then. A lot of what that happens with moms is, especially moms, is that we take career breaks
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and we go back to trying to find the old me, not acknowledging that a huge transformation has happened to me physically, emotionally, from a work perspective, that is only value added and not depleted who I am as a person. And I don't need to come from a place of deficit. I don't need to come place being defensive that, oh my God, I'm not even a valuable asset to society anymore. Because that's what really happens to a whole bunch of us. How would you advise them to pull out of that deficit mindset and again move to an abundance mindset and say, I can do this. Now what I bring to the table is very, very different.
That's a wonderful question, and this is a question that comes to me very often when I'm also dealing with clients one-to-one, especially parents. And I have this way of approaching it. So I asked the mom, "You wanted to be a mom, right?" She would say, "Yes, of course I wanted to be a mom." Were you happy in your pregnancy journey? How is it? It's good, difficult for some, good for most. Were you joyed on receiving your child? Yes, of course. What's there not to be? I said, did you have a good time raising your child as well? Was it insightful? Yes, lovely, wonderful. Of course, apart from all the sleepless nights and all of it, beautiful journey, beautiful. Great. So you wanted this? Yeah, of course I wanted it. And now you want to go back to work, right? I do. So what keeps pulling you back? Well, sometimes I just feel like, what if I go to work, I don't find the right work-life balance, I don't find the space of, getting time for my kids like I used to, all of that. So here's a simple thought to have is that when you've wanted something in your life so deeply, cherish that moment thoroughly.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I'm going to be a mom, I am waiting. I'm waiting to just drop everything and start back to zero. No problem. You know why? Because I'm going to rise in the journey of motherhood. And I'm going to savor every bit of that flavor till it's marinated to a point of my taste. And when I feel ready, and sometimes for some, I may not feel ready to go back to work. But when I do feel ready to go back to work, I will do it also because I want it. I will not do it because I need to, because I used to, because what if my society tells me to? I will do it because I am ready for it.
Right.
And I will also acknowledge the fact that there will be days where I will not be able to life and work balance.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like work-life balance. You can't balance on a seesaw, right? When is a seesaw enjoyed? When one is up and one is down.
Yeah.
You can't enjoy when one is on at the same level. Like, who's having fun? No one. So, every single day, you choose the one aspect of your life. You either choose your work or you choose your personal life. And that's how you navigate through life. And that is not motherhood or working profession. That is just human. If a father is allowed to choose, why do we as mothers put this superhero thing, like you mentioned, on ourselves? No one's given us the cape.
Yeah.
We have gone to the store and got the cape.
Self-imposed cape.
Right. So I feel like that's something that we can understand, that if I do wish to go to work, it's my choice. And to answer the next part of your question of when we don't come back to that reset, it's okay. That's the best part, like I said earlier. You don't need to reset to come back to how you were before. Because motherhood or whatever transition sabbatical that you've taken was that made to only go forward. You have paused, you have not stopped, you have not reset it. So when you don't go back to your old self, it's a good thing because you're not supposed to. You have to only grow from that self forward.
Yeah, that's so beautifully said. Thank you. I can't believe we've had an hour of conversation, and I have just been absolutely blown away by the clarity that you have and your vulnerabilities and sharing that, because I think it takes so much to be so raw, so authentic, so vulnerable. It's absolutely beautiful, Benaisha. Thank you. Thank you for letting us and so many other parents, so many children be part of that journey.
Thank you for having me.
For parenting tips, celebrity interviews, recipes, conversations with experts, DIYs, and lots more. Subscribe to Kids Talk Press now.